Hello and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K Facebook Live. And today I'm going to show you how I made a fun card with the Delivering Cheer stamp set and a couple of designer papers and just, a few die cuts and all good and all done. So this is one of my favorite stamp sets, which I will say when I first saw it in the catalog, I'm like, it's okay. But I actually have really had a lot of fun using it and used it on a lot of different occasions for different cards. And it's a cute set. So definitely one that you need to get. And it is officially on the retiring list from Stampin' Up. So it will not be available after the end of the catalog. So make sure that you get it and get your hands on it and use it. It's cute. It's fun. And it's easy, actually. Hey, Jeannie, thanks for hopping in today. I appreciate you being here. It looks like Bree is here as well. So thanks for joining. So this is what we're going to be making today. I just needed a general card, not necessarily a winter or a holiday themed one. Just wanted something for a friend, and that's what it is. So, hey Karen, glad you're here. I know it's your favorite set. And I actually, like I said, it's one of those that initially when I saw it, I'm like, it's okay. But the more I use it, the more I like it. It's a lot of fun. And it's got some sweet little images, and I do love the sentiments in it, even though I didn't use them on the card today, but it's definitely got some good ones for the holidays. So this is the stamp set. Again, it is in the current July, I almost said January, July to December 2021 mini catalog. And again, it will be retiring at the end of the catalog. So make sure you grab it up before it goes away for good. So that's the stamp set. It is photopolymer, so it's easy to see through and easy to stamp with. The sentiment on here actually came from the Sweet Strawberry stamp set, which is in the annual catalog. And again, it's one of the photopolymer sets. So again, easy to use, easy to see through, all that sort of thing. Hey, Barbara, thanks for joining today. A couple other things that I used on this. My pile of stuff is starting to tumble over already. I used the Tasteful Labels die. So I used the little banner die here for the sentiment. So this is a real handy die set. If you don't have this one, you definitely need to get it. And then the Scalloped Contours dies, I used the second largest one with the little kind of polka dotty edge along it to cut out the main image on the card front. So, hey, Marilyn, beginning your Thanksgiving prep. I'm kind of started. I did the grocery shopping part of it, and, that's as far as it's gone. So I actually haven't picked up the meat yet because we always do prime rib, and so we're going to pick that up tomorrow and get it all seasoned and ready to go. So I'm excited about that, too. So, hey, Nyoka, I'm glad you're here as well. Okay. Couple things I wanted to let you know about. I already talked for a minute about the retiring list, but Stampin' Up! Is going to be doing a little sale on the retiring items beginning on December 1st. So that is not this week. It's not the holiday weekend. It is next week, Tuesday. They've got a handful of things, not a ton of stuff, but a handful of things from the the July to December 2021 mini catalog that are going to be on sale through the duration of, for as long as they're in stock and through the end of the catalog if they last that long. And that retiring list is also all while supplies last. So anything that's on the retiring list that you don't have that you want, make sure you're getting on ordering it. It's posted on my blog today, which is stampwithamyk.com. So go take a peek out there. And I'll also be including it on the blog post with this card, so you'll be able to find the details out there as well. So definitely take a look at that. Download the list and start looking through your catalog and figure out what you need to get if you don't have it all already, because I kind of do. But, not everybody buys crazy like I do. Hey, Jeanette, glad you're here. Next up, the Stampin' Up! Has got a great joining promotion going on right now. Through the end of November, if you join, they have reduced the starter kit price down to $75, which is a screaming deal. And you still get $125 worth of Stampin' Up! Merchandise of your choice in your starter kit. You're going to get a free paper pumpkin kit. You're going to get some free business supplies. And then you get free shipping on the kit. And once you join, then you get at least a 20% discount on everything that you order. And the upcoming mini catalog, the January to June catalog actually goes live for ordering for demonstrators on December 1st. So you can actually pre-order from that if you join during November, get the great deal on the starter kit, and then be able to pre-order from the upcoming mini catalog. So that is a great deal. If you have any questions about that, again, the details are posted on my blog. But feel free to shoot me an email at amy@stampwithamyk.com. Happy to chat with you about that. And then last thing I wanted to chat about is the Eden's Garden product suite is available for pre-order. Well, it's actually available for everybody. It's an early release item from Stampin' Up. The stamp set and dies and the bundle pricing will be in the next upcoming mini catalog. The beautiful Ever Eden Designer Series paper, the cotton paper, and the garden gems are only while supplies last through January 3rd. So if you are interested in those items, make sure you hop on and get those ordered. So, all right, that is about all that I have for carrying on now. So, hey, Kay is here. Thank you very much. And Ginny, a happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Like I said, just kind of starting the Thanksgiving prep a little bit around here, but not really. We go into more Thanksgiving prep mode on tomorrow. So, all right, get started on the card. I have got a basic grade card base, and I've got it cut to 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. So it's the same card front size as a regular book fold card. So if you prefer that to the top fold card, you definitely can fold it either way. This card front will work with either one. So. Hey, Carol and Stacy, thanks for joining from, it's cold here today too in New Jersey. It's definitely getting a little bit closer to that winter thing, which I don't love summer, so I can't, but I also don't love when it gets to that really cold winter where you're just like, ugh, I don't want to have to put on 8 layers and go outside. But, all right, this is a piece of paper that is actually cut. It's from the specialty, the Peaceful Place specialty paper, and I'm putting the specialty side down. But I do love the plaid. I love the kind of gingham look with the little girl in her outfit here, so that's why that one is going up, and the specialty side is going down for today. Normally I put the specialty side up, but I couldn't help it on this one. I loved it with the little gingham background on it. So again, this is from the Peaceful Place specialty paper, and that is also on the retiring list, so make sure you're grabbing that up before that goes away. Then I have 2 fun and totally different color papers. These are from the hand-penned Designer Series paper pack from the annual catalog. So this one is cut to about 1.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and this one is cut to about 1 inch and 3/8 by 5.5. The details are all going to be posted out on my blog tomorrow, so don't feel like you need to write down all of the details and the measurements and that sort of thing. So it'll all be out there on my blog. So and I'll link it up in this video when the blog post goes live tomorrow morning. So hey, Ruth and Carol, I'm glad you're here as well. Hopefully I didn't say hi to Carol already. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody hopping on. It looks like everybody's starting to do their Thanksgiving prep, which is good. Hopefully you got your turkey all thawed if you're doing turkey. Or if you're like me and doing prime rib, then yay. So I don't know. We have a weird tradition. I'm not a huge turkey fan. It's okay. But I figure if I'm going to do all the work and all the prep, I don't want to end up with just a turkey when I get done with it. So we do prime rib at our house for Thanksgiving. And every time when I go to order it from the meat counter, they always are like, "Are you sure for Thanksgiving?" And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure for Thanksgiving. We want prime rib. Okay. All right. So again, just adhering these onto the card front, just one on top of the other over on the left-hand side here with a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue. And again, generally I use Stampin' Seal, but for projects like this, when things need to be lined up and I need a little hair wiggle room on it, I usually use the liquid glue. But I'm kind of a messy liquid gluer, so I try to stay away from it unless I don't have any other choice. So, all right. So let's get to doing a little bit of stamping. So, hey, Penny, glad that you're here as well. So I have got the image. These are the legs, and generally when I stamp with this stamp set, I generally start with the legs first. Because if you start with the top part and you stamp it kind of here, and then all of a sudden you go to stamp the legs and the legs are off the bottom of the paper, then it's not going to fit quite right. So usually if I start with the legs, I can kind of adjust as needed. So these are the legs from the Delivering Cheer stamp set, and we've got some Tuxedo Black Memento ink that we're going to stamp. And I'm just going to ink up the bottom here. And we're going to stamp it. This is a piece of basic white cardstock. And hopefully I won't mess it up completely, but if we do, we got another side to it. All right, so there we go. We got that image down. Then, oh, here we go. Then I've got the top of the girl, woman, whatever she is, and I am going to ink that up as well with Tuxedo Black Memento ink. Make sure that I've got it good and inky. And the only thing that's a little difficult, and I'm not even going to say it's difficult because it's really not with this stamp set, because you can see through it pretty well and see where things fit together. And now that I say that, I'll probably mess it up. But you just kind of have to pay attention. There's sort of a little V here in her arms and a V here in the skirt. And all you want to do is line up the 2 V's and hold your breath and stamp. So, and hopefully I got it on here fairly straight. I think, yay, look at that. I mean, woo! So, and sometimes like on my original one, you probably, I don't know whether you noticed it or not, but it was a little bit, just a hair off on there, and you know, it's close enough. I don't think you would even notice it unless I pointed it out like I just did. Maybe you noticed it, but I didn't really when I first did it until I was coloring it. I'm like, it's good enough. So, all right, I have got basic gray, and this is another one of those where I just kind of hold my breath, but I haven't made a mess so far stamping the little leggings on the girl, but today will probably be my day. So, all right, so I've got basic gray ink. And then these two, they're just, it's a cute little image in the Delivering Cheer stamp set. And they're leggings that you stamp over the top of her little legs. The only trick to it is there's the top of it, actually the part that goes up near her coat actually has little dots on it. The bottom of it that goes above her boots has a line across it. So that's the only thing to keep track of. And it's actually shown right side up on the front of the case, which I'll show you in a second once I get this inked up and stamped. And again, it's much easier when I don't have a camera in between me and what I'm stamping. But I'll put it down and hope I got it pretty close to right. Aha! There we go. I think it is a little crookedy, but I think it still works. So on the front of the case, the only thing you want to pay attention to when you're doing the leggings is just make sure the dots go to the top. If you flip it the other way around, you can stamp it, but they aren't going to fit right. I mean, it'll work, but it'll look a little weird. So just make sure the dots go to the top, and they're right side up in the image that you're looking at. So that's the only little tip that I have for stamping that the leggings on the woman or girl, whatever you want to call her. Next up, we've got some gray granite ink, and I'm just going to take, this is the little kind of swoosh image from the stamp set, and it's ground. It's, to ground her basically. It's just to put a little something, make it look like she's standing on something and not just floating in midair. So I'm just going to stamp that 2 times, once on either side of her, and we will call that good. All right, next up we're going to do a little bit of coloring. I am going to start, I think, with her jacket, and I have got light and dark mint macaron Stampin' Blends. And the colors that I used on this, I actually I grabbed the Hand Pen Petals Designer Series paper because I love the colors in it, and that's where the colors came from. So I just picked out colors that were in that paper that coordinated. I liked the way they looked together. So I decided that was what I was going to color it because I didn't want it to necessarily be a holiday themed. I just wanted it a little more general themed card. And so I just did it in the colors of that Designer Series paper pack. So that's where the color scheme came from. And I do that a lot with my projects. Just use the colors that Stampin' Up! Gives us in the paper pack. It makes it super easy. So I've got dark mint macaron that I'm going to come back in here with. I started with the light, if I didn't say that already, and just coming back in to put in a little bit of shadow where I think shadows are going to be at on her jacket. And as you'll note, and if you've watched me color before, I'm not excellent at coloring. I just put the color on how I think it looks good, and that's how I go with it. So I don't do spend a lot of time overthinking and worrying about exactly how it should look and whatever. I just sort of put the colors on and do a little bit of blending and call it good. Because I find that if I overcolor it or overthink it, then I tend to overcolor it. And then I lose a lot of the blending and the shading look to it if I put too much color on. So I tend to kind of go with the easy route and just do a little bit of coloring, a little bit of blending, and call it good. All right, so that is it for the jacket. Next up, I think I will do the little paper wrap, and I used light gray granite to color that in. And then I'll do the same trick that I have done with a couple of other things that I've shown you before, where you put a little bit of the gray ink on and then use your color lifter to actually color and sort of mix everything together, and it lightens it and just sort of colors everything. It just kind of sort of gives it a little shading, and that's all that it does. So there's not a real stark line like you're going to see here. So I'm going to take my color lifter. I tend to use the bullet end of it when I do this type of coloring, just because it's easier for me. If you prefer the brush end, you definitely can use it, but I just find that for me, it's easier when I'm doing this kind of coloring because I really want to scribble on it. If I use my bullet end, I get a little better effect. So again, it's up to you which end you prefer to use, but I prefer to use the bullet end when I'm doing this. And I'm just scribbling over the top of it and kind of just pulling the color out into the middle with my color lifter and lightening it along the edges. And then I'm also going to color down here at the bottom. It took me a minute to figure out, I thought this was a scarf down here for the longest time, and I finally realized that it's the bottom of the paper, and those are the pretty little, the bottoms of the flower stems. And it took me a minute to figure that out, because when I originally, the first time I colored it, I actually colored it as a scarf, and I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. That's paper. So once I figured that out, then it became much easier to color her. All right, next up I have got Light and Dark Misty Moonlight Stampin' Blends markers. And I'm going to color in the mittens, and I'm using the bullet end on this one simply because it's a little bit smaller space and I feel like I have a little bit better control over it when I use the bullet end to color in the little images. Again, if you're better with the brush end of it, you can definitely do that. I just tend to, in the smaller spaces, have a little more trouble keeping control of it if I use the brush end. I'm going to come back in with my dark Misty Moonlight, and I'm going to just fill in. I did sort of every other little line on the cuff of her mittens. I don't know, line, whatever you want to call it. So I went every other on her mittens, and I'm just going to add a little bit of shading in here, right around where her hands are together. And then I'm going to come back and just make sure I don't have any harsh lines in there with my light Stampin' Blends marker. And I think we'll call that good on the mittens. Let me set those aside. Now we're going to start coloring the flowers. So I actually use 3 different colors on there. I've got Crumb Cake, So Saffron, and Pale Papaya for the markers on here. I just arbitrarily decided that Pale Papaya was going to be anything that looked like the little berries. So that was, and I just sort of scribbled on. I should have the light one. Hopefully, yep, I did grab the light Pale Papaya. So I just sort of scribbled over anything that looked like berries and kind of colored it down the stem. And again, you don't really have to do this neatly or nicely. That's the fun part about the blends, is that you can just sort of, particularly with this image, is very forgiving. And again, I'm going to come back in here with the dark Pale Papaya and just put a little bit down the center. All right, then we've got our light So Saffron that I'm going to do the same thing, except for I'm going to do that over the ones that look more like, is that ferny looking? I'm not sure if ferny looking is really a word, but I'm calling it a word. Just going to scribble over those again. This is why I love this image, because it really just is scribble coloring, which is sort of the coloring I like to do, because it's easy and I can do it. And it's supposed to look a little messy and artsy. So I've got the dark So Saffron, and again, I'm just going to do the same thing, just sort of brush it down the center of the images that I've just colored. Going to add a little bit, excuse me, going to add a little bit of color here in the middle as well. And then I'm going to come with my light Crumb Cake. I'm going to cough again, I'm sorry. I may have to grab a drink. Goodness, all of a sudden I got a tickle in my throat. And I'm just going to come in here and add a little bit of light Crumb Cake around, and again, just sort of scribbling it over the center and along the little, whatever the bottom type of flowery thing is. I'm going to use a little bit of Crumb Cake, light and dark, to do the same thing with that. Oof, there we go. And again, just going to put a little bit of dark Crumb Cake sort of right down in the center of things, because I assume that it'd be a little darker down in the middle of the flowers than it is at the ends. And that's really all there is to coloring this image. So it's super, super simple. Just put a little color on it and it's all good. And you can pick whatever colors you want. You can do like I did and pull them from a designer series paper, and that gives you an easy color palette, and you know that everything is going to coordinate. So I just grabbed the hand pen petals, and that's what I went with for my color scheme. All right, so I'm going to cut this out with the second largest of the Scallop Contours dies. And I actually intentionally, because of the way the card is designed, intentionally set it so that she's a little bit shifted to the left, just because I knew I was going to put my sentiment on the right. So I've got to make sure that she's over a little bit to the left. I mean, I'm not going to severely do it, but just a little bit to the left when I am doing the die cutting. The other thing you want to be aware of is I don't always stamp straight. I don't know about you. Just line up so that your image is straight in the rectangle. It doesn't matter how crazily it's stamped on the paper. Just make sure that you're lined up fairly straight when you run it through your die cutting machine. My die cutting machine is over here to my right, so I'm going to be off screen for 1 second. Hopefully y'all are enjoying your Tuesday. My sister is actually here already, so she came in early. She's visiting for Thanksgiving. So she usually helps me with the food prep, and we usually have a little Stampin' project or two that we do. And so I've got that all lined up, and we'll be doing some fun stamping stuff as well. All right, so we've got that done. Just use the die cut. We're going to use some Stampin' Dimensionals to adhere this to the card front. And again, when I adhered it to the card front, I did sort of the same thing that I did when I was die cutting it and just slid it over a little bit to the left-hand side. And I'm using my chopped up half Stampin' Dimensionals. So yes, if you don't like those, look away. So I just like the way they I feel like they hold very securely, and I like the size of them a little bit better. All right, let me get that last one on there and pick off the dimensional covers and stick this to the card front. So, all right, and again, I'm just sliding it a little bit to the left and doing that intentionally. I don't know whether it looks like I did it or not, but it is intentional that I did a little bit to the left just because my sentiment's going to be on the right. Next up, we're going to do a little stamping with our sentiment. I have got that. Again, it's from the Sweet Strawberry stamp set. We've got some Versamark ink, and we're going to do heat embossing, so it's going to be a little loud for a second in here. I am stamping it on Pale Papaya cardstock. And again, the details will all be posted on my blog tomorrow, and I'll link it up in this video. So, ooh, I almost dropped my stamp. So you'll be able to find the details tomorrow if you want to take a peek at that. I've got copper embossing powder from the Metallics Embossing Powders pack. And I'm just going to use my little spoon and spoon a bunch of it on over the top of my stamped sentiment. And do a little flick and make sure that I get everything off from the area where I don't want it to be. And then I'm going to close up my embossing powder so I don't have an embossing powder mess. And then I'm going to turn the heat tool on here. So Stampin' Up's heat tool has 2 levels on it. There's a level 1 for drying and a level 2 for heat embossing. So level 1 you can do if you have an ink that's a little slower to dry, that you want to speed it along, or if you do watercoloring or anything like that, that you want to hurry up and have it dry quicker. You can use the level 1 setting. And level 2 setting is a little bit hotter, and it's for heat embossing, which is what we are doing. So I've turned it on to the level 2 setting. And while I was talking, hopefully it warmed up here. And we'll see the change in the heat embossing here in a second. So once it starts to get smooth and shiny, then you know that it's done cooking. You don't want to overheat it because you can burn embossing powder, and then it turns kind of dull and not very pretty. So just as soon as it's kind of got the shiny look, just move your heat tool on and make sure you don't overcook it. So I'm giving that a second to cool off while I am talking, and I am grabbing the die, the little banner die from the Tasteful Labels dies. I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine over here. All right. And get that done here in a second. Hopefully I get it cut straight the first time. All right, got that done. We're going to use some Stampin' Dimensionals and add a little embellishment to the card front, and then we're going to be all done with this one. So using Stampin' Dimensionals to adhere this to the card front, using a couple of my little half ones. I'm trying to stay away from the very end of the banner just because that's going to be hanging off the edge of my die cut. So I make sure that I've got it backed away a little bit from the edge so that I don't end up with this stuck to the card front where I don't want it to be. And then we're just going to line this up over here on the right-hand side and try to make sure that it's straight and stuck down to the card front where I want it to be. The final piece for the card front is a couple of the little brushed metallic adhesive back dots, which I love these. And I'm so happy. These are actually carrying over into the next catalog. So these are going to be around for a little while. So yay, yay, yay for that. And just added a couple of little, excuse me again, copper brushed metallic adhesive back dots to the card front to finish it. On the inside of the card, I kept it pretty simple as well, and I have got a little piece of the leftover that I trimmed off from the card front. This is the Peaceful Place Specialty Designer Series paper, and we're just going to adhere that with some Stampin' Seal to the inside of the card. And if you haven't seen my blog or my post out on Facebook yet, or if you aren't a subscriber to my newsletter, which you should be, but if you're not, I'm going to be sending this out tonight. But the Deer Punch, the Deer Builder Punch, and the Penguin Builder Punch were both restocked today. I know tons of people have been waiting on those, and they are back in stock and available to order, as well as the bundles. So if you've been waiting on those, go order them now so you can get them. before Christmas and get your cards done. All right, so just a little bit of the designer series paper on a piece of basic white cardstock. The basic white is cut to 4 by 5 1/4. Going to add a little Stampin' seal to that, and we'll stick it to the inside of the card, and we're going to be all done for today. All right, so let's stick this together. There we go. Fold it closed and do a quick crease with the bone folder. And we will call it good. So this is the one I did ahead of time. This is the one we did today. Made that while we were chatting here today. And that's it. Like I said, if you don't have this stamp set, you really need to get it. It's really, really cute. Really easy to use. And if I can do it when I'm on video and get it stamped relatively straight, you can easily do it. So definitely pick up the stamp set if you are interested. And I'd love to have you grab it for me. If you would like to go shopping in my online store, feel free. Let's see. I actually originally was planning to not go live on Friday, but I may hop on and go ahead and go live with a card project. I think I might. My sister actually, her flights have been moved around like 15 times, and she's leaving early in the day on Friday rather than afternoon like I thought she was. So I think I'll probably go ahead and hop on YouTube live on Friday around 2 o'clock Eastern time and plan to do a project live. And then I'll be back here live on Facebook Live around 2 o'clock Eastern time next week, Tuesday. So thanks so much for joining today. And again, the details are going to be posted on my blog tomorrow. If you are celebrating on Thursday, have a very happy Thanksgiving. Thanks to everybody for joining today. And we'll chat soon. Talk to you later.